Hello and welcome back to KXAN Plus. Thanks for joining us here. My name is Esmeralda. I am your host, and with me is our Eric Henrikson, space expert, to talk all things space here on our show. Eric, how are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic today. I got some cool stories to share. I'm excited to share some stuff in the news.
Yeah, especially our headline right there. That caught my eye this morning. A
Yeah.
possible Milky Way collision. What the heck?
So this came out early June as some research paper, and I kind of put it in my pocket. I'm like, I'm going to talk about this in a couple weeks because I really want to talk about this. So one of the big theories of the universe is that the Milky Way and our neighbor, the Andromeda Galaxy, are eventually going to collide, and there's been debate about this for years. Are we going to collide with them or not? And this new research that came out, this team was studying observations by the Hubble telescope and the Gaia spacecraft, which is a European Space Agency spacecraft. And these observations they were taking showed that maybe it's about 50% chance that we're going to collide with our neighboring galaxy.
And I like how you chose now to talk about it when it's even closer to happening.
Yeah, I mean, and by closer, we're talking about 4.5 billion years. So the proximity is pretty low. And when it'll collide, so it's not interesting what I was reading about was that a lot of galaxies collide. Ours has likely collided with other galaxies in the past. Andromeda has likely done the same. It's basically just you have all these systems that just kind of merge and form a new galaxy. You know, the shape changes, basically these collisions. You're talking about clouds of dust. You're talking about big gaps between planets and star systems, stuff like that. And so it's more collision. They are colliding, but they also kind of merge and meld and form a new galaxy over time. But yeah, 4.5 billion years. So that's a long way away.
It's almost here.
Almost here. You know, maybe someone on the planet will be frozen in something and get to witness it. I doubt it. In 5 billion years, this is the messed up part. In 5 billion years, by that time, our sun is expected to expand and consume the Earth. Yeah. So Venus, Earth, Mercury, it'll get pretty big. Cover the first chunk before collapsing and dying. So the Earth will be around only 500 million years after this merger happens. So yeah, bit chaotic in the deep space, but there's been debate over this for years. Are we going to merge with this galaxy or not? Some people thought it was more of a certainty. I read some people were thinking it's more of a certainty. Some people were thinking it's less of a certainty. But now the research is saying 50-50. So yeah, humans may not even survive that long. You know, we're a drop in the hat when it comes to Earth's history. But who knows? We could be around and get to see two galaxies merging. The question you're going to ask is, what does this mean for our solar system, our Earth, our sun? Well, the researcher Till Sawala had something to say about that. If you want to show that.
Let me pull that up right now.
Oh, no, not him, the other guy.
The Milky Way is not doomed. Whether that's relevant for the sun or for the Earth, that's another question. But yeah, so basically we find that there's only about a 50-50 chance that the Milky Way will collide with Andromeda in the next 10 billion years.
Sorry about that.
Oh, yeah. So basically he says with the next 10 billion years, 50% chance, and we don't know what that means for us. So, but again, 5 billion years from now,
we probably won't be here.
Yeah, the sun's gonna expand anyway. So if human race is still around in 5 billion years, which is such a weird thing to say, but I mean, realistically, look how
hopefully we are.
The dinosaurs are around for several 100 million years, and that was 65 million years ago. And humans have been around for, I think it's like less than 100,000 years, something like that. So we're very small when it comes to the history of the Earth. And a few billion years from now, even further away, we may not be around. We may have evolved into creatures with wings and stuff.
Or
aliens of some sort. There is a theory. It's called the Fermi principle, and one of the ideas is the reason we haven't seen aliens is because once someone becomes like an alien, they'll kind of go out and they'll colonize everything, and then basically they'll be everywhere. And maybe humans one day will be that race that just kind of goes out there and colonizes every planet in the galaxy. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're the aliens in the future.
I thought you were going to say that we haven't seen aliens because we are aliens.
There's a possibility of that too. I don't think that's true, but I think we did evolve on this planet, but there's always a possibility. I don't know. I've watched a lot of Doctor Who over the years, so my science fiction brain is always working in that direction.
It's always thinking the bigger picture.
Yep.
This topic that we're talking about right now interests me because like you mentioned, it happens quite frequently, and we're not really aware that it's happening. But what could the effects of this happening, let's say tomorrow, be?
Well, if it happened, okay, let's say we collide with the galaxy right now. Humans likely wouldn't see the effects for millions of years. I mean, I don't. It's hard to comprehend how big space really is. You know, it takes us months to reach Mars, and Mars is relatively close. You know, space is really, really big. So if stuff to happen, and it might be happening now, it takes so long for light to reach us. There may be things we haven't seen that are actually occurring at this very second. So there's no telling because light travels only a certain speed, and it's our observations of that are relative to us. One of the things, if you look at the James Webb Space Telescope, which is our big space telescope we came out with a few years ago, it's staring billions of years in the past. It's looking at light that's billions of years old, which means we're looking billions of years in the past. These are events that happened billions of years ago. They're not happening right now. There's no telling what's happening right now in this second. So the likelihood of us feeling the effects, if it happened this very moment, are very low. I remember I've done a few stories over the years about like black holes that are near Earth.
Yeah,
And because technically they are near Earth, but they're so far away, we'll never have to deal with the impact of that thing. So, and by never, I mean like in our lifetimes, in our children's lifetimes, and our grandchildren's lifetimes, for generations to generations to come. That's how far away these things are. You know, we're talking about going to nearby solar systems. We're talking hundreds of years. So it's of travel for us, where the people who leave won't make it. The people who, their children will make it, their grandchildren. It's like that kind of thing. That's how far apart space is. And we can't travel that fast anyway. But light can only travel so fast. And yeah, these things they don't really impact us on a day-to-day basis. What they do tell us is like how galaxies form. And we're made up of stardust. The atoms in our body are made up of the things that form galaxies. So by learning more about how things are out happening deep in space, we're learning more about us as creatures here on Earth in weird, unique ways. And those discoveries, like how they looked at the light through those telescopes, can help us here on Earth with other technologies. So it's like that's how these kind of discoveries impact us. It's these unintended developments that occur by developing technology to look at these things that are happening billions of years away.
Lots of years away,
Yeah.
not anytime soon.
Exactly.
Another topic that we were going to discuss here on our live stream is a rescue mission, and I feel like this is something we keep talking about here on Space Base.
Right, but this is a prep for a rescue mission. So NASA has launched, I want to make sure I get the name right, the South Pole Safety Challenge. They've announced the winners of this. So the idea is they ask the public to develop ways to rescue people, astronauts, on the South Pole of the moon. To develop technology and tools that astronauts can use if someone gets injured. How do you get them back to the spacecraft and get them back to Earth? And so they've announced they had 385 entries from 61 countries. They're going to split a $45,000 prize. There was 5 winners, 3 in third place, 1 in second, 1 in first. And NASA estimates that just by doing this challenge, having the public develop technology, they've saved about $1 million.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm trying to pull up that video.
I didn't. There's no video for this one. I have video for the next one. But this one, yeah, I didn't. This one's still brand new. I found this came out this morning, so there's nothing really crazy unless we have some like hidden South Pole of the Moon video.
No,
that,
I don't think we.
that I put somewhere. I mean, there's a good chance I put stuff everywhere. The 5 projects that won, 3 of them, the ones tied for third, were foldable, tool-free, or compact stretchers. The one that came in second was a foldable trolley. And the one that came in first was a self-deploying trolley that's motorized.
Wow.
And so they can just pop that out there, throw the astronaut on it, or lift gently, set the astronaut on it, and can get them to safety. Pretty cool. And they have to be able to transport, the weight on this was crazy to me, 755 pounds. Like an astronaut, that's
755 pounds.
I'm assuming that includes equipment, so that's why it's so high. But I thought that was interesting. That was the distance, and they had to go more than a mile, and had to be able to reach like a 20 degree incline. So hills that are about 20 degrees to be able to cross over that. So 5 designs were picked, and they're going to test these out, and they're going to hopefully put them on board the next lunar mission to test them out.
Is there a reason why they chose the South Pole?
So South Pole might have a little thing called ice on it. And if we have ice, if we can look at ice, we can make water. and we can make water. Well, we have water to drink for one on the moon, but also they can use it for fuel. So we can use the moon as a jumping off point to Mars. The moon has no atmosphere, right? And one of the challenges on Earth is to escape the Earth's atmosphere, and you burn up a lot of fuel doing that. If we can do launches from the moon, A, we're that much closer to deep space, and B, we don't have to go through an atmosphere. So we can conserve fuel. If we can process the fuel on Mars and get the resources, or process the fuel on the moon, get the resources on the moon through water, we could travel further in space. But again, the South Pole has ice, and so that's why we're picking there to look first, or we think it has ice.
Interesting. So this is the South Pole Safety Challenge Lunar Rescue System.
Yeah.
And I see here on your article that 61 countries have received the challenge of this.
Right. And only 5
idea.
winners, which is pretty impressive.
Wow. So there were 5 winners in total. Who were those winners?
I actually only wrote down the top 2. They were called Vertex and Moonwheel.
I think the other
projects. I have the 3 in the
yeah.
web story, but on my notes I only wrote down the top 2. Not discounting the Bob 3, but Vertex and Moonwheel were the coolest ones anyway. So what can you do?
It says here that the 3rd one was Portable, Foldable, Compact Emergency Stretcher. The 4th was Advanced Surface Transport for Rescue, or ASTRA. And then the other one was Getting Rick to Roll.
Yeah, that name I definitely remembered, which is also why I didn't write it down.
Getting Rick to Roll.
What can I say? I was trying to be kind, but yeah, that was part of my thinking on my notes. Yeah, so it's 5 winners, so many countries, a $45,000 prize they're splitting. Pretty cool.
5 ways? Splitting in 5 ways?
Yeah, I'm assuming NASA's press release didn't put out how much information on how the prize money would be split. I would assume first place gets like
the bigger amount.
Yeah, 20 grand, and second place gets 10, and then the rest all split that.
Well, that's a
20.
very, very fun challenge to be a part
Yeah,
of.
very cool, very cool. They do these. If you keep an eye out, we've talked about a couple on these over the years. But if you keep an eye out, NASA drops these little tech challenges. It's a way for them to save money, get the public involved, and be innovative because you can bring in people from the outside to try things.
And maybe whoever enters that challenge could possibly be part of getting to the moon, getting to Mars.
Exactly. They can help with these bigger projects to explore the solar system and beyond. So pretty cool on there. Our final story of the day.
We have 3 topics on this stream this week.
Today we're talking about a artificial solar eclipse.
Let me see if I have that.
Yeah, we do have this. I got some cool video for you. So this is the European Space Agency's Proba 3 mission. And it's the first artificial eclipse.
Is it this?
That's it, done in space. So there's the artificial eclipse. So what they're doing, I'm going to try to explain this as best I can. They're taking 2 satellites. One acts as the eclipse. They're kind of like, there's a picture of them. See, the one acts as the eclipse and one takes the photos. And it can block the sun just perfectly. And they have to kind of arrange it just in the right spot. It's 150 meters apart. And that way the other one can take the perfect picture of the corona of the sun, which is the outer atmosphere of the sun. They can take a great picture of it. Here's when it launched last December. Pretty cool. It's a cool rocket too, I think.
Oh, so it's already up there.
Oh yeah, it's up there. These are new photos. These came out yesterday.
Oh wow.
And so that rocket launched. I think I wrote it on the date, but it was like mid-December. And then new photos are up now. So pretty cool. These are the first photos that they're revealing, which pretty awesome. The satellite has a really cool way it's set up. I have a sound bite from one of the researchers. Check this out.
Let me find that.
To see the corona, we needed to align the 2 spacecraft and the sun. And so the 2 spacecraft should be aligned with a precision below millimeter. And the distance between the 2 spacecraft is 144 meters. So it's really technological achievement, technological breakthrough, I would even say. Because it's something which was never achieved up to now. Such a precision of alignment of 2 spacecraft.
Wow. So this is from a European Space Agency, right?
It's called Proba 3 is the name of the mission. So imagine that. So they're having to do this thing 100 meters apart. They're using lasers, of course. They're using lasers to align these 2 satellites just the right spot to take these photos. And the reason they want to take these photos is the sun has a really cool atmosphere for one, but also it has these things called coronal mass ejections, which are these big explosions. They have solar storms, solar flares, all these things that are happening around the sun. And it's really hard to see those when you have that bright sun in your eye.
Yeah.
And so we had to block it out so we can take photos of the outer atmosphere of the sun and see these things in better detail. I've seen a couple satellites that have done this. Most of them, what they do is they take I'm gonna try to do it with the camera. They'll take like literally like a dot and they'll put like right there, and so you just see my hair. Imagine that's the sun.
The sunbeams.
That's kind of how they do it typically. And it's like if you look at the satellite, it's like camera and then like a little thing that just blocks it. The distance, they can make alterations and move things and change things, and it can change in orbit. And so if you recall, when we had the total eclipse here, the max time they could keep the eclipse going, the eclipse lasted was a few minutes, right? I think it was like 4.5 in Fredericksburg when I was down there.
Super short.
Yeah, very, very short time. And then during this mission, it was 6 hours.
Wow.
So that's how long they can maintain it. So it was a 6-hour eclipse. And again, they're just trying to take photos of this atmosphere, right?
Now, is the eclipse happening just in space, or would we be able to experience the eclipse?
It's just behind that one telescope, or that one, the one spacecraft, the probe. Well, the telescope there takes photos of it. So yeah, it's not, or satellite there takes photos of it. See, there's the two parts. This is obviously an animation. We don't have that good of cameras floating around space. The one on the right is the part that blocks the sun, and the one on the left is the one that takes the photos.
Nice. The doctor that you spoke with, I think his name is Dr. Zhu. I don't want to say his name. Zukov?
Yes, he's the researcher behind it. Actually, I didn't write his name down here. Yeah, Associated Press spoke with him. I didn't get a chance to speak with him myself.
Zukov.
They did a great interview with him, and I watched a good part of that one. That they uploaded some pieces to our server. I got to check it out. He talked a little bit about the importance of studying the sun, and I think we can show that part right now.
Find that.
To see the corona, we needed
we just saw it.
to learn a lot about the physics of the solar corona close to the solar surface, to see how the solar wind is accelerated, and also to see the origin of coronal mass ejections, which can disturb the human technology when they arrive at the Earth.
Wow. Here on your article, I'm sorry, it says that he anticipates an average of 2 solar eclipses a week being produced for a total of nearly 200 during a 2-year mission, yielding more than 1,000 hours of totality. That's crazy.
Isn't that wild?
1,000 hours?
Yeah, 1,000 hours of eclipse. And like he was saying, the reason we're concerned about solar storms is they impact our technology here on Earth. They can disrupt communications. They can damage technology, damage electronics in deep space. So we need to study these to understand how better protect ourselves from them and to predict them. It's space weather, so it's better to understand our space weather, and this is how we do it.
Yeah, and being out there and creating things like man-made instead of the eclipse that we see here, I think that just shows how much we are developing up in space right now.
Every day there's something new, right? We have a lot of private companies here in Austin and Central Texas and Texas in general, and then places around the world like the European Space Agency, which celebrated its anniversary last week. So they're going strong, and there's just more exploration happening every day.
And one thing I always like to ask you about is the International Space Station. When is that going to be done with?
I think it's going down 2027. I almost said next year. I knew it was 2027. 2027 is the date where they're going to start ramping that down. And KXAN Space, which is a private company based in Houston, they're going to use the remains of the International Space Station to build their space station. Nice. So they're going to attach their first pod to it and then build off of it. I'm trying to think, is there a good metaphor I can use? But basically, you have this old thing. I'm going to use my hand. And
I love your show and tell.
I'm trying my best. I kind of wedge it in this camera here. And they'll attach the new pod and the new pod and the new pod. And then this will be a new space station, and this will break away, and then they won't use that anymore. And then you'll have a new space station. It's almost, you're just kind of building on the old one until the old one, it's time to really retire the old one. But then at that point, you have a new one. So you kind of rely on the old ones, like oxygen and resources it provides, stuff like that, before you start the new thing.
But it's not just going to be a new one. It's going to be multiple new ones because all these other companies are going to start building
KXAN is building off of International Space Station. NASA is building, I want to say it's called the Gateway, and it's going to be circling the moon. So their next space station will be around the moon.
So we'll have lots of pit stops.
Right. And the moon one is NASA's way of getting to Mars. So people will be able to go to the moon, or be able to go to the Gateway, land on the moon easier also from there, and then you go to the Gateway to launch to Mars.
Wow. So lots of stuff, lots of news happening up in space. Thank
constantly.
you.
I have a stream going. I like picking 3 stories for me. It's a lot because I have a stream of information. I'm like, what are the 3 most interesting things this week? So I try to find those every week for you here in the space
I
space.
think everything that you find is always interesting.
I do my best. I do my best. There were some boring ones too, but we didn't talk about those.
No,
So.
they didn't make it on the show.
No, they don't make it on the show. Sorry, less interesting stories.
Well, thank you for bringing all this space news and your space knowledge to us here on the Space Space on KXAN Plus, or if you're watching on our social media or our news app, you can also now download us on KXAN Plus app stores on anywhere you get your streams from, which is Roku TV, Apple TV, and Fire TV. I also want to show your article before I forget.
Yeah.
It is already live on our website titled Milky Way Galaxy Collision More Likely While NASA Prepares for a Lunar Rescue. What else is in this?
Do you like my dramatic headline?
I do love your dramatic
It's
headlines.
so dramatic. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, like I was trying. You gotta sell it, right? Yeah, we're talking about
Caught my eye
science.
for sure. Yeah.
I mean, that's my job. What can you do? And I think we covered everything. We had some cool facts in there, some cool numbers. If you were interested in those, the lunar rescue projects, again, we have the full names, including the one I didn't want to say out loud.
The Getting Rick to Roll.
Yeah, I tried to get away from saying that, and you got me anyway. Yeah, I think it's all in there. And we'll have more stuff coming in the coming weeks. I have an interview today at 11 that I'm going to add for next week's story. So we'll do that pretty cool.
That's a good segue to share that interview will be on our KXAN Plus app. So if you download the app on your app store, go to the app main page, and you will see more exclusive content like that throughout the rest of today and into the rest of the week.
Perfect.
Thank you so much for joining me, Eric.
Thank you.